Hey, this is Kristen Shaw with Airport Improvement. I'm here with Eamon and Mike from the Concord Group. We're here on the show floor of ACI, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you two because I want to hear what is going on with the Concord Group lately.
Absolutely.
What's new?
Well, we're very actively out there in the market currently trying to get more involved with airport projects. We do a lot of cost estimating and project management and technical services such as third-party commissioning, services like that. So we're out there trying to meet people. We've gone to a lot of conferences, and we're starting to see a lot of activity again after the last couple of years.
Good.
With our focus on cost and estimating, obviously the current market that we're in with construction costs makes it even more and more important to have that third-party opinion. So we're out there trying to spread the message on that there is consultants out there that can help kind of find the right path through on cost to make sure the numbers are where they should be.
Right. So, Mike, can you give me an example of an airport that's come to you with a problem and how you solve it?
Yeah, so actually currently we're working with General Mitchell International Airport up in Milwaukee. About a year ago, we were contacted. They were very interested in our facility condition assessment. They had recently developed a master plan around sustainability and carbon neutral by 2030. So what they wanted to do is understand what they had from an asset perspective and an infrastructure perspective, and then make the necessary decisions on the replacement of materials and equipment to meet that sustainable and master plan around net zero. So, from a technical perspective, I've worked all over the world on airports, providing commissioning services, third-party commissioning services. So, my group now is quite focused on aviation and facility condition assessments. We feel, with Eamon's group support around the estimating, it's a very strong fundamental understanding of what your plan should be going forward. And with the infrastructure bill, everybody's going to be putting their hands up for money. Very quickly. So we hear the word master plan a lot over this week, and also the previous conferences we've been to, and we feel that the plan to move forward is very, very important. So we feel that our services can really complement how that plan looks and goes forward. So yeah.
So is what you do with the Concord Group, would you liken it to actuarial science or risk assessment, or is it more planning? What would you say?
It really is a cross between all of those, because we are in the business of risk mitigation, because that's with that third-party expertise. We're trying to come in there and evaluate conditions on a project, financially, planning-wise, any of those potential risks, and help find a way to mitigate some of those potential risks. So whether it's cost, schedule, the actual facility conditions as they exist, and all of the above. So.
And this is big money we're talking about.
Yeah.
So you're showing the airports hard data on what they need to know to plan going forward.
Absolutely.
Are the airports ever surprised when you show them the numbers? They're like, I'd never thought of it that way.
Airports not so much, but outside of aviation, I've experienced virtual jaw drops when, we've identified what the cost of replacement is going to be over the next 10 years. So their CIP, capital improvement plan, in their mind they have a set aside, and then obviously we come and because it's a data-driven decision, we're not attached to it emotionally, they are. But if we step back and give them the data to make that decision, that's their understanding of what they will need going forward, whether it be 5, 10, out to 30 years. So we feel, because it's a very neutral third-party approach, even though we're emotionally connected because we are working with the client and their team, but we're giving them data that they need to make decisions on. And of course, as we're going through the facilities, if there's anything that is at risk or needs immediate consideration or replacement, then we're there to see that. So as I said, we're seeing that it's more of an understanding of how, get a feeling or a sense of what your infrastructure is, how it's currently performing, and then what's the necessary funding required to bring that in line of where we all want to go.
Now, hard data, the now data that you have is all stuff that's known and proven. When you're looking at data toward the future, How much is prognostication?
Well, when it comes to cost, it is, because we don't have that crystal ball that if we did, we probably wouldn't be in this business. But it's, when you look back and look for trends and look for what has happened in the past and evaluate what's going on and seeing the potential, like we're seeing there's going to be an issue with labour, there's already an issue with materials. That all has a cost impact, and you can kind of project out the difficulty in finding that labour, the difficulty in procuring materials over the next 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, and you make an educated guess essentially as to where you think it's going to land. But it is based on data from the past and then trying to project forward with reasonable certainty.
Right, for instance, the last 2 years, nobody could have predicted.
No.
How did you, what surprised you, and how did you adjust for that data set and looking forward?
I think a lot of it is working with clients maybe to reevaluate procurement strategies, different ways of doing things. Yeah. Maybe we break the project up into pieces rather than one big project that was envisioned early on in the process. So I think it's just kind of working through the process and trying to figure out different ways of doing things, not just going with the old traditional things. That's the one thing I think that's come out of COVID, is to force people to think differently and really start to come up with different solutions and ways to do things that might be more progressive than they would have been in the past. And I think we're a lot more conscious now of the future and the potential issues that might come up and start to plan for that. Environmentally, that's the other issue, sustainability, that is a big focus again. It always has been, but it's re-energized now again. And I think that's trying to get clients to think that way and start projecting out for those kinds of things is crucially important, I think, at this stage.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and to complement that, I'm harping on about our services for civic condition assessment, but we have developed our tool to give a functioning dashboard to the client. So as we see labour rates, material rates going up, we can adjust that CIP in real time to really to refine what that budget needs going to be going forward. Before, facility condition assessment would have been delivered in an Excel spreadsheet, and it's very hard to prioritise that or sort it to your exact needs, whether it's around compliance or life safety or just general replacement. Now the sophistication around technology and the providers, it's just such a strong tool to enable that data not necessarily to be manipulated but to be adjusted to meet the current market needs, be it resources or cost of material.
My last question to you both is, and please feel free to both give me your input, what advice would you give to an airport manager right now as they're looking at their data?
If they're looking at the data, because I think that's maybe, from our perspective, as I said, there's an awful lot of money going to be floating around, and we have met some clients who have a shovel-ready project. It's very easy for them to understand what their data is because they actually have a concept in mind of where they want to go. But an airport that hasn't been forward-thinking, not to disrespect them, are now going to put their hand up and go, well, actually, we've got this amount of money. What's that project going to be? They're the ones I think are going to quite struggle because they know that their needs are going to be greater than the money they're going to get. So I think, step back, evaluate and plan accordingly, prioritize your needs, and then act accordingly. That's the way I'm looking at this. Because again, we're outside of aviation, we're seeing, K through 12, higher education are getting all this money. And, they're in the same sort of predicament. They're sort of forced to deliver this program, but not ultimately understanding of how that program is going to be delivered. So we think just step back, evaluate what your needs are, and then act accordingly.
It kind of sounds like somebody who wins the lottery and they have all this money coming in and then they don't really know how to manage it properly, or spending your bonus before you even get the money.
Yeah, absolutely. And without having that plan in place, it can go many different ways and in different places. And we found because a lot of airport administrations are made up of public officials on the way down, there's change, there's constant kind of turnover of people in different departments and different agencies. So without that knowledge of the existing facilities and the existing conditions, it's very hard to plan forward. So, that's the main issue that we see.
I mean, I'd like to think that with our experience, Eamon has done an awful lot of estimating for a number of years in the aviation world. I've worked from a technical aspect in the aviation world. Collectively, we feel advice is free. We've lived that dream from a different focus, from an operational. They live inside that world. We're outside looking in. Sometimes it's just nice to get a little bit of advice from someone outside looking in.
And an objective.
Yes.
Yeah. It's important too, that third-party objection.
Absolutely. Well, that's very practical and smart knowledge to have right now. So thank you for sharing with me. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Enjoy.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon.